Okay, party people, come on in here. We'll give everybody a hot second like we usually do. Some might argue the busiest time of year. I would make that argument, or I would stand behind it rather. I'm sure I'm not alone here. I'm sure plenty of you feeling the same challenges here with November 1st on Friday. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, everybody. We're just about there, and we got this one of the best holidays for my money coming up in the meantime. Um, so we look forward to that. Like always, got first of all, for those of you that are new to us, welcome to College Aid Pro Counselor Coffee Talk. This every other week we do this, and it's really this is your we're here to just be a sounding board for you all, answer any and all questions when it comes to what is on our subject matter expertise, which is all things financial aid, scholarships, affordability, how much these schools are actually going to cost, who's um, creating transparency in this kind of space is our sweet spot. So we love questions. Please put those in the Q&A. Again, it can be like a really granular, specific question you have for a student, or if you're wondering about trends or, anything, this is kind of the point. And this week, so today's kind of deal is just more of a open grab bag forum. I'll give you the latest and greatest with FAFSA updates, have some comments on the CSS profile, have some comments on net price calculators as a whole, and kind of a recent case study that was really cool for us. And then um, again, we'll be happy to answer any and all questions. And then the other week, right, the week that we're not kind of talk that is not an open forum, we talk about something specific, right? So I think a few weeks ago was the CSS profile. Obviously, we'll be focused on the FAFSA in December. But that's kind of the deal for those of you that are new. If we don't partner with your high school already, please talk to us. Email us at counselor@collegeaidpro.com. That email's for anything, any questions you have. But get on our calendar so we can learn more about you guys. We partner with high schools all across the country, fancy schools, non-fancy schools, big schools, small schools, every walk of life, the entire spectrum we work with, right? Every demographic, socioeconomics. Um, and we are happy to support anybody and everybody, especially those of you that feel like you can use some more support and your families could use some more support around this whole financial aid scholarship ordeal that can be pretty confusing. So a couple of things here. For starters, let me just kind of walk you through the latest on the FAFSA. Okay, let me make sure that I'm sharing my screen. In terms of how you should be coaching this up to families right now, it's a whole lot of hurry up and wait. Okay, for the most part, there's such a small percentage of families that have access to the FAFSA right now. You just have to assume, because by law, large numbers, that none of your families do. If they do, we'll talk about that in a second here. But this whole thing is about controlling the controllables. So what we are coaching families up on right now is, listen, take care of your CSS profile. There's some schools, obviously, if you're applying early action, early decision, not a lot of them, but some schools have November 1st deadlines, right? Again, very small percentage, but there's a lot that have November 15th and December 1st deadline. So CSS profile and all things admissions applications. That's really the focus and what we can be doing right now as class 2025 families. The FAFSA, until further notice, we're not going to have access until December 1st-ish, right? Still obviously a little bit of an asterisk there. So far, this kind of soft launch rollout has been successful from what we understand. So they're doing this kind of in bite-sized pieces. They started with this beta 1 really small sample group of selected students from selected organizations and high schools and select colleges. They rolled that out. We are now approaching the tail end of beta group 2. So now there's thousands of students and parents, contributors of that are on there. I know University of Miami is one of the schools. There's a couple other state flagship universities, but a few more colleges that are participating in this beta group. Um, and then the next step is this. We're going over 10,000 families. We're going to open it up for a bigger number still in the middle of November, and then finally open for everybody on December 1st. So they're doing kind of what most uh, smart, I think, tech companies do, which is, anytime there's a new release, you open it up to just small sample sizes before you completely open up to the masses. So I think they're doing a good job in learning from last year's mistakes. I anticipate, and I think it's smart to set expectations that it's not going to be completely smooth sailing, but so far so good in terms of this year. Very likely being much better than last year. Okay. Um, However, we're still going to have the same challenge from a timeline standpoint. I'm sure you're getting a lot of questions around, okay, well, since we're applying early, we're not even going to have the ability to access the FAFSA to December. How are we supposed to know what these colleges are actually going to cost us, right? And that's why, again, those of you that follow along with us know we like to refer to ourselves as the source of truth, and I think we do a good job in walking the walk there. But make sure if again, if all your families don't have College Aid Pro accounts already, MyCap accounts, um, this is the easiest place for them to just set up their account. They onboard themselves, and it's instant net price calculator for every college in the country, right? Any school they want to put in there. And ours are very, very reliable, very, very accurate. We put this out on some social media. I think we might have put it out in our newsletters and stuff like that. But we had a great case study. And we have a lot of these, and we're going to start to get more kind of public in sharing these. This was the first one that we shared publicly, but we had a family that was, on our platform that their daughter was hell-bent on going, a really smart kid, obviously, hell-bent and going ED to Duke. And our platform was projecting them to pay $10,000. They were ecstatic. And then right before they kind of hit submit on ED, they did Duke's net price calculator. Excuse me, Duke had them projected to pay $50,000 a year. So monumental delta here, especially for a family that's has limited resources. They were beyond devastated, upset, angry, right? Specifically at us. And we stood tall to say, this, we know Duke and we know their formula and we know what the end result is going to be. And we think but we couldn't blame them for saying, but their own net price calculator is saying that we're going to pay 50. So we're not doing it. We're not going ED and again, very angry at us. And so this was disheartening, right? And again, this happens, with some level of frequency. So what we did is our data team, hunted down, was very persistent with their financial aid personnel. And finally, we got somebody that was very, very willing to work with us. Long story short, this family they didn't have a high income, they didn't have a lot of savings, but they owned their home and they had a lot of equity in their home because they've been there for a while. Um, and we know that Duke doesn't look at much equity at all, especially if you have a low income in your primary residence, but their net price calculator had them looking at all of it. So they said, you know what? We're wrong here. And by the way, none of these colleges have their own net price calculators. They all outsource them to third parties. So they're not really their own net price calculators. But long story short, Duke, and this is credit to Duke, right? This is why we felt comfortable. Not every institution is like this, but comfortable giving them credit because they said, hey, hand up, we made a mistake. This is an oversight in the formula. They got it corrected like the next day, and this family ran the calculator, and voila, once you know it, they're paying $10,000. Students very happy to be submitting that ED application. Obviously, now we're all crossing our fingers that they get in, and that'll be the harder part. I'm extremely confident the price will be right if they do, but all of that's one anecdote, but all that is to say that net price calculators in general are not reliable, right? And again, I'm not throwing shade. That's just the deal. Of course, there's exceptions. Plenty of colleges or some colleges have reliable net price calculators, but I think so many school counselors, that's the only place that they're comfortable sending parents. Say, "Oh, I'll go see what it says on the net price calculator." But oftentimes that is a misleading representation of how affordable or not a college is going to be for families. So send them here at a minimum and make sure that they're doing both, right? And checking more than one place. But again, we are happy to take on anybody, specifically the colleges themselves, when it comes to projecting how much a student is going to pay at that school, right? And the other thing that is can be really useful here for both of you as counselors and more so for students and families. If we're a 2025 student, we're finalizing our list of schools. I can just go put in some important search criteria for me. Like I want to be pretty close to home. I want a small school. I want business is a major. Okay. And then I can just go sort based on who's going to give me the most in scholarship dollars and instantly rank order that, right? Or I can just instantly sort who's going to give me the most in need-based financial aid based on that criteria. Okay. So it's a very, very important tool because something we say all the time. Among all the challenges that you school counselors have, I always think one of the biggest ones would be I think many of you can name great fits for your kids in your sleep, right? You know these kids, you know these schools, you know what their personalities and their skill sets and all of that. So it's easy for you to say, here's 12 schools that are just going to check the boxes or check the most important boxes for you. But you're flying blind in terms of whether or not those are going to be affordable, right? So this is something that again that we're just trying to empower you all so you know, okay, not only does this school, I know this school is a good match for my kid, but it's also going to fit within their budget and look pretty good in terms of that affordability profile. So again, just I think something that is worth sharing again as I know you guys are always trying to help families figure out without inserting yourself into the weeds of their financial situation, help them find resources that can help them figure out the cost challenge when it comes to this process. Um, okay, and then let's see, what else did I want to share around that? Yeah, and please, any questions, comments, etc., fire away. The CSS profile has really been business as usual. The form is almost identical to last year. Kind of good news, bad news. It's still a pain from a UX standpoint. Um, if you haven't, we've just about wrapped our CSS profile presentations, but we still have a few left. So if you want to share a CSS profile presentation with your families, just let us know. We also have recordings, kind of evergreen ones, where I'm writing our support email for you all, counselor@collegeaidpro.com. So write into us, write into Anne Marie and myself if you want a copy of a CSS profile presentation, you can watch it yourself first and see if you think it's share worthy for your families. But we do a really, I think, good job of like taking this several hundred question form and helping them figure out how to navigate it in the most efficient way possible. And then also helping them with a nuance, right? How do you value your business? How do you value your primary residence? What questions not to answer? Because there's a lot of optional questions on there. So we have opinions around when and where to answer what. What's the right number to put when they ask us how much can you pay for college as parents? And should we put anything in that last section of the CSS profile where we kind of have that blank canvas to write in paragraph form? So, again, that's been very helpful for, again, families navigating this where they can kind of go line by line and they have the recording to play pause throughout. And we get great feedback there. And of course, also they have the opportunity to ask all their questions, right? All our presentations, we always have two experts, as most of you know. So whoever's not speaking can be answering questions. Okay, that is my talk track around the CSS profile. Hit the net price calculators. We hit the FAFSA. Yeah, and in terms of question here around how we advise with um, early decision versus early decision specifically, right? And how I look at this or how I articulate it, and I think we're pretty aligned as a company wide here. I'd say very aligned, right? Everybody articulates it in their own way, but I say this. Parent asks me, "What do you think about going early decision to this school?" I say, "Look, we have two major boxes we have to check here. Number one, this has to be the school for your student. They were one of these, a smaller percentage of kids that had this aha moment. I have to be at this school. I need to be at this college. This is will be my happy place where I'll thrive." And there's very little ambivalence there, right? We are all in. Then it is our responsibility. It's our responsibility to know how much is this school going to cost us, not just 1 year, but over 4 years, right? When we layer in inflation, when we layer in siblings going in and out, right? Even though the FAFSA got rid of the sibling rule, a lot of these colleges did not, right? A lot of these private colleges. And then we at least have to have a working idea of our budget, right? This is our obligation as a family. So this school is going to cost us about this over 4 years. We can put this towards it before we start borrowing. So somebody is going to have to borrow this at the finish line, whatever it happens to be, right? And you have to be able to look at really this number, what it's going to cost me, what it's going to cost me over 4 years, and what the delta is going to be, assuming I have any budget as a family. And are we comfortable with that? If we can all stare at that, parents and student, and say, yeah, this works for us, and then let's go. You have our full blessing. Let's go early decision. If you're really wavering on either of those boxes, that's when for me I say, hey, early decision might not be the best bet because we're unless something's really wonky, our projections are going to be directionally close. They're going to be very close if they're not on the nose, right? We have some exercises that helps them figure out their budget. It takes like 1 minute to get at least a back of the napkin idea of what their budget is. So again, this can just kind of help them see the finish line and say, does this work for me? Does this end result work for us as a family? And obviously keeping in mind that maybe, oftentimes we have younger siblings and all this where this is not a 1 year or one student decision in so many cases. So, and obviously, we're not trying to scare anybody. We're just, again, trying to be that source of truth and just say, hey, let's make an informed decision. And there we go. Because as you all know, you guys have to sign on that dotted line as well. And it's not necessarily the best look for you if families are saying, well, only going to UMass Amherst if they cost $5,000, right? There's zero chance that's happening. So if that's your expectation, it just doesn't make sense to go ED, right? Obviously, every family is different. This is one particular family, but that's how I coach it. And I think that's the right way to coach it. And again, this is just a tool that you can provide families with where they can, and I know a lot of you already do, where they can go do that exercise themselves and then come back to you and say, yeah, we did our homework and we're comfortable with this, right? And again, you guys are not vouching for the accuracy of our platform. That's not your job. This is a resource. We're happy to give them and you guys any and all data you want to verify it themselves, whether it's you or them or whomever. We without sharing all the secret sauce, we're pretty transparent about how we arrive at our algorithm and why it's successful. And by the way, for those of you that are feel new to us, the biggest reason why is that when families get accepted into colleges, they upload their financial aid awards. We translate them, right? You guys know those financial aid award letters can be really confusing, and we tell them if they got a good deal or not, right? What is their likelihood of a successful appeal? But what that gives us is massive data, right? We know that Boston College says they do this for a family like this. What do they actually do, right? And we have all this data to support that with actual financial aid award letters. That feedback loop is kind of our ultimate scoreboard, and I think what separates us in terms of our consistency. Yeah, so I mean, those are my big ones for today, guys. Obviously, I know again we're November 1st, right around the door here, so I'm not going to keep anybody longer than I need to this week, especially. But I do want to stick around if you have any particular questions and just make sure that, again, if you don't partner with us already, write in to counselor@collegeapro.com. Let's talk. Um, But again, any questions around anything that's relevant here, I'll sit tight for another minute or two before we get back to our busy days. All right, y'all going once, going twice, going three times. Okay, do we provide financial aid counseling to prospective graduate students and families? Yeah, we do. It's not our sweet spot because it's less complex, right? Graduate school, whether it's law school, med school, um, going to get your MBA, there's just it's less of a black box in terms of how it works, right? And in short, with financial aid, there's exceptions, but usually speaking, their only type of financial aid is loans, unless you're at one of the top tier medical schools, Harvard, Stanford, Yale. They have kind of traditional CSS profile FAFSA. As a matter of fact, they still look at the parents' resources, even if you're a 30-year-old independent medical student. But we do help with that, right? Certainly, we have resources, we have experts that can provide value there, but it's not as much of our sweet spot or focus of ours, largely because it's less confusing than this undergraduate world here in the US of A. Thank you for the question. Yeah, do we have a list of colleges that offer to pre-read financial aid eligibility to prospective ED applicants? Nah, I don't know that there is one, right? Obviously, they exist. Generally speaking, those are only for prospective student athletes, right? A lot of student athletes, if you're a recruited student athlete, you can get a pre-read on your financial aid, just like you can get a pre-read on your admissions. They give you the red, yellow, green from an admissions standpoint, and then they'll give you a pre-read from a financial aid standpoint. I don't have a list of all schools that do uh, pre-reads for applicants. It's a very short list, right? Not a lot of most colleges will not do that. They'll just send you the net price calculator. And again, I'd say in addition to theirs, make sure that you send them to ours. And the other thing is here, whether it's you guys, whether it's any families, whatever, if there's a discrepancy in net price calculators, now we are checking these all day, every day, all the time, but things change. We're not perfect, of course. Tell us. Because our data team will go look at that instantaneously and say, okay, is there something wrong on our end, or is this a misrepresentation on the college's net price calculator? Right? It could be a school like American University. They have the federal net price calculator up there for them, but they use the institutional formula. So theirs is always going to be wildly uh, misleading, right? So, but there's other schools where again it could be like, okay, they made a change, and they made it before we learned of it, so we got to make a change on our net price calculator, and again, we'll do that in real time and go find out, again what the source of truth is. So, we like to think of that as like this is our kind of larger community, and you guys are at the tip of the spear with us, and all that information just creates again more transparency ultimately for the families that are going through this. Okay, looks like I got to all the questions. I saw a bunch of you reach out to say get us that CSS profile recording, please. We will do just that, and yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks. I think what's in 2 weeks here. Yeah, we will see you in 2 weeks at the beginning of November. In the meantime, have an amazing Halloween and happy November 1st almost. Thanks, everybody.